Let me share the host, just in case. It's always good. Let us do a quick prayer. Master Jesus. Another medium's book study is about to start. And come to our attention so many mediums in need of this knowledge, in need of understanding what they are to better live their lives. I wish this study could go further, arriving to those that are in need. Some of them don't even know they are mediums. Some of them, they are reluctant to accept that they are mediums. Oh, Master, show us the path, the best way to help those that are in need from both sides of existence. Be with us through this study, today and always. So be it.
Amen.
Let me share the screen with you. I'm assuming that now you can see my screen. And we're starting the item 58. The inmost nature of the spirit per se is of the thinking being is entirely unknown to us. So even the spirits, they do not know, or at least they did not know at that time, the origin of the spirit itself. It is only reveals itself through its actions, and these actions can only impress our senses by means of an intermediate type of matter. He is referring to the perispirit that we have discussions last weekend. Consequently, the spirit needs matter in order to act upon matter. And I'll make a stop here. Nothing does not exist. Taking that into account that nothing does not exist, the spirit is something. Perhaps the spirit can be even made of something, because nothing does not exist. So it goes way beyond our comprehension about what is the spirit. Perhaps some time ahead, and I mean hundreds and hundreds of years, we will be able to evaluate better what the spirit is. I personally have a hard time to accept that the spirit itself is nothing, is something, made of something. Different type of matter, different type of cells, different type of anything, different than anything we know. But cannot be nothing. We have to remember that many years ago, many centuries ago, dark matter was something that was non-existent. And nowadays people start studying dark matter that was non-existent at all. So that gives me a hope that in the future we'll be able to better comprehend what is the spirit. Consequently, the spirit needs matter in order to act upon matter. Nevertheless, even if the spirit is nothing, and we know that is something, it needs matter to interact with the environment. To interact with matter, you need to have some degree of existence to be able to interact with something. So it goes way beyond what we know, what we can understand. But spirit is something real. Spirit is something. And I will use the word matter just to make a sense of what I'm saying. Spirit is a type of matter that interact with a type of matter that is the perispirit. And then through this link, it will interact with the matter that we call our physical body. Because nothing does nothing. Nothing does not exist. So something interacting with perispirit, that to many people is something. They don't understand, they don't know. And then interact with the physical body. It is direct instrument for doing so is the perispirit, just as an individual's is the body. And as we just have seen, the perispirit itself is indeed comprised of matter. So at that point in time, Kardec and the spirits were already accepting that the perispirit is matter. Hi, Patricia.
I'm just going to make a comment because when you were saying, I thought about something that Pablo has said many times to me, and it kind of makes sense now more, even more. And it links as well with his explanations in relation to, he says that we have God and Spirit and matter. So then now that you are saying that spirit is not matter, but it's something that we don't know yet what it is. So it makes, it links with the knowledge I was building. So thank you.
Yeah, Patricia, you need to think about that today. If we speak about with anyone, they will not even consider that the perispirit is matter, right? We spiritists, because of what the information we received, we consider perispirit as a matter, a very light type of matter, but matter. So the spirit could quite well be matter that will be much more lighter than the perispirit that is already lighter in relation to our physical body. So we don't know. These are speculations, but nothing cannot think, nothing cannot interact, nothing cannot create anything. So it's something. If it's something, has a proper and individualized way of existence. How it is, we don't know. There are some books that relate that doesn't matter how evolved the spirit becomes, always have a perispirit. Maybe be something very, very thin, just to keep the individuality of the being itself. We don't know. There are speculations. But imagine where we are nowadays with science and in our time and age. We are having a hard time to get a consensus about the perispirit existence and what it is. Imagine if we try to go beyond that. It will be nonsense, or people will not validate, or could be anything, you know. Hi, Munir.
Hi, Guilherme. Good morning, everyone. I just want to share my perception of this because it is a complex subject, because it is at the very root of the creation, you see. And as Patricia mentioned, we always see God as the creator and the creation divided into two elements, the spiritual one and the material one, which is the universal cosmic fluid. So dense matter, subtle, etherealized matter, everything, including the fluid itself in its purest form, is we call matter. The spirit, I think, I wouldn't call matter, but it is something, as you mentioned, you see. It's just because it doesn't come from these universal cosmic fluids. I wouldn't use the word matter, you see. I just would say the spirit comes from a spiritual essence, but it has to be something. Yes, indeed. The way I see is when you take, for instance, a magnet, right, and put a sheet of paper on top of it, and spread some files on top of this paper, we see something that is invisible but exists, which is the magnetic field, take form by the material, shards of metal. And I would see this shards, these files, as being the material elements, matter in different densities, and the magnetic field as the spirits. But both exist. You see, it's not because it's not palpable. It's not something that we see, or that the spirit does not exist. It is like a force. It is like a field. I see that in my limitation. You see. Because I'm far from understanding things in depth, but I created this simple idea of the spirit as a field, and anything that is material that comes from the universal cosmic fluid, be it the perispirit, the physical body, anything, as the material element that gives shape to something that is invisible.
I like pretty much the example. Yeah, it's a nice picture of what it is. Yes.
Yeah, it helps me a lot, because it's really difficult to understand the essence of it. Yeah.
I got what is the behind that magnetic field? We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah. This is the thing.
Very good indeed. As an intermediary agent, it has the universal fluid, which is a kind of vehicle upon which it acts. As we ourselves act upon the air in order to produce certain effects through dilatation, compression, propulsion, or vibration. Regarded in this way, the fact that the spirit can act upon matter is easy to accept. One may thereby understand that all effects resulting from such action belong to the order of natural events and have nothing miraculous about them. They only appear supernatural because the cause behind them is unknown. Not too long ago, we used to burn people in stakes because they were able to prepare teas to solve fevers, to fix some health problems, because we were not able to understand what they were doing. So we called them witches and we burned them. Today we don't have those names anymore, and I hope we won't be burned. Just a hope at the moment. It's more a psychological burn than anything else. But it's because we don't know. The day things become clearer to our knowledge, the magnificent, the miracle things behind what we don't understand disappear. No. However, once the cause is known, they cease to be miraculous, for their cause can be found entirely in the semi-material properties of the perispirit. So the perispirit is semi-material. This is all to be treated in a new order of things, which a new lab has come to explain, and which, before long, no one will be amazed, just as no one nowadays is astonished by long-distance communication, which take only few minutes by using electricity. Going back a couple of decades, we got information that perhaps by accident we would be able to identify the spiritual world. Today we have equipments that are way more developed than used to be 30 years ago. Today we are able to interact with things on a virtual world already, in a digital virtual world. Perhaps one of those new developments will allow us to interact with them in the future. We don't know. Hi, Charles.
Yes, indeed. Hello, everyone. At that time, there was first trials of the telegraph, which enabled indeed communicating across the Atlantic in a few minutes, as he said. Today, it's almost instantaneous. It's at speed of light. We are here around the screen with video inclusive. So it changed a lot. And what was unbelievable at that time, I think even when I was young, something like 40 years ago, we did not ever believe to be able, there was already TV, of course, but we didn't believe that it would be possible to have a video conference live as we have today, isn't it? Internet was not existing, and much less all these tools we have today. So what seems incredible becomes reality very soon after. But what I wanted to say is, indeed, there is in the philosophy, there is the materialist philosophy, which says our conscience is produced by our brain, by the biochemical reactions in our neurons in our brain. And the spiritualist philosophy is saying, no, there is something else, a spirit, an intelligent principle in Spiritism, which acts upon the matter, which is only the transceiver or the receptor or whatever. So this question 58, I mean, the spirit can act on the table, can move, act on the matter. There is something more elementary on this. We just need to look to ourselves in a mirror or on the screen. Our spirit is acting on the matter of our physical body. And what Kardec is explaining here is it uses semi-material, an intermediate body called the Perispirit. So the first step of science would be how does the Perispirit act on the matter itself? And that is already a big challenge that science did not solve yet. There are some hypotheses, like from Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff, about some quantic reactions in the nanostructures of the neurons in our brain. But it's far from being, demonstrated. The science is not yet at the perispirit. So how does then the spirit act on the perispirit? I would leave that for later because it's even more complicated question. And on a philosophic point of view, there are several philosophies trying to understand how the reality is. There is the monism and the dualism. The monism says everything is coming from one single principle. And the dualism says there are two principles. So the matter is one and the spirit or the intelligence is another one. And the biggest critics today on the dualist philosophy is how does something in a totally different nature is capable to interact with one with the other. In other words, if the spirit is something different, how can the spirit act on the physical body? So here we have at least an intermediary, but it does not solve completely the question. I think here we need to question a little bit more the spirits in order to understand better. Because in the monism, there is the materialist monism, so everything is matter, and there is the idealist monism, which is that somehow that the intelligence, the matter is just a creation of the one who perceives the matter, And this, we in the Spiritist body of knowledge, we are not yet capable to determine whether which one of this philosophy is the right one, or if there is a need to have another extended philosophy to match with the teaching, the Spiritist body of knowledge.
Indeed. Indeed.
Very complex question.
Yeah.
For instance, a very simple question. The matter and the perispirit are coming from the universal cosmic fluid, correct? This is what we know.
Yeah.
But what about the spirit? Does it also come somehow from the universal cosmic fluid or not? And this is not answered in the Spiritist philosophy as far as I could determine from my 40-year studies on the matter.
Oh dear, lots of questions.
Yeah. We are really touching to very sensible questions here. So that there is an intermediary, we can understand. That this intermediary enables life and enables the spirit to act upon matter. We understand as well. But it does not solve completely all the questions.
No, not at all. There's a lot of questions to be done. Let me just share with you guys something that you're talking about how things progress, new technology. Like, I was offshore. I was on board. I was probably 19 to 20 years old at the time. And someone asked me, do you have an email account? I said, what? An email. So what is that? Oh, that's the way we communicate virtually through internet, through protocols. What? What is internet? Okay, there was like a conversation of half an hour. And I remember what I said. That's never going to work. That's what I said. Never going to work. And like a month ago, I was I think I mentioned to some guys, I think it was a different meeting. I was in the office and I've been asked to participate or to witness some development that we are doing. When I start to work, we used to make drawings and a paper with pen, massive piece of papers to be able to draw a machine or things like that. When we moved to AutoCAD, oh my God, how can we draw something on a computer? People were able to follow and to learn. And in recent times, we were using what we call step files. They are 3D that we can move, orientate, and that was, for someone that learned how to do in the paper, that is something magnificent. A month ago, I went to a step above. I've been asked to participate in one demonstration. Those drawings you used to do, step 5, blah, 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 something that's getting old now. Okay, can you please put the VR goggle? So what? The VR goggle. I got inside the drawing. I was inside the drawing. I was moving inside the drawing. I was able to see, there we go, yes, in the drawing. I was, my God. And there was not, we had 4, 5 people. We all got inside the drawing. We interact with each other. We could move in the drawing, left, right, up and down. We go to different places in the drawing. And in the end, I was like, oh my God, I need a toy like that for me. But leaving that aside, I was thinking about it. It's a kind of interacting with the spiritual world. I was interacting with a different world that's not material anymore. That's just there. We were interacting with something like that. And I thought that was the closest experience I had outside mediumship meetings and things like that, as interact with the spiritual world. We're interacting with a different dimension. So I believe, why I'm saying that? Because I believe through something like that, as it continue development, it's development, and nowadays we don't think with our brains anymore. We're thinking with massive computers, so technology will evolve rapidly. That could be one way that we will start to see the spiritual world in a different way, and even perhaps interact with the spiritual world in a different way. Hi, Munir. I'm sure you want to have a
Hi,
toilet.
Guilherme. Yeah, it's very exciting topic, you see. But I agree with you. It's how I see that we're going to interact with the spirits. One way, I think, because we interact already, is through a machine like that, because you went virtually inside a virtual object created either by someone created the object on a computer or by the computer, you see. But why not the spirits creating in a virtual representation of themselves and interacting with us in a virtual environment in the future? Who knows? But what I want to add is just for us to have an idea, because Kardec mentioned here long distance communication, but that was done in his time through wires. Because the idea of electromagnetic waves was only presented, the theory presented by James Maxwell in 1876, after the publication of this book. And from those days onwards, people started to see light as an electromagnetic wave because there was no theory about that. People didn't quite understand exactly how it happened. Just for us to, see how, this information was already very much advanced because the ideas were there, but the theories hadn't been formulated as such. And radio waves, the name radio waves and the devices to deal with that were developed even further towards the end of the 19th, beginning of the 20th century. And this idea of quantum physics came in the early years of the 20th century. So we see that the academic science is always behind what the spirits told us. And as Charles mentioned, we still have a lot of work to do in order to be able to understand, because perhaps we don't know the principles yet. Going into particle physics, all the theories to understand the subatomic world, then once we discover what there is there and formulate some theories, we'll be able to explain and understand how the perispirit and what it means in our world, in the physical world, interacts with matter that is known so far.
Science nowadays, Munir, is proving that they know very little, and they start to accept that they know very little of the universe. Things that were theories for decades going downhill because they cannot explain what they found already. Those satellites on the universe, they are creating problems on the scientific community because what they believe they were right, they now understand they were not that right. So there's a lot of things to learn, to study, and to go on. And what we thought was our universe, just a small fraction of what they already found, what they could see, images. So we know nothing. We really, and in the big scheme of things, we are nothing. We are so little compared to everything that's out there, and then we know already that's out there, that we should start to reevaluate the way we see things, the way we think. Why I'm going to fight, why I'm going to do things that are atrocious, because we are nothing. We are nothing.
And you see something very interesting, Guilherme. What you said can actually be seen. In the turn from the 19th to the 20th century, physicists believed they had all the laws, they knew everything necessary to explain everything. They had only two tiny little problems that they said just a question of time we'll be able to find the solution for them. And these two tiny little problems led to the physics of the 20th century. It's like you were going to the top of a hill and said, I've seen everything. When you get there, then you realize that, well, you were still at the very bottom of things. So you see, quantum physics and the theory of relativity, everything came after this perception that, no, we know everything. We have Newton's law, we have the electromagnetic wave just presented by Maxwell, thermodynamics, so we don't need anything else. Everything now can be explained. And we know the result. So I believe that, yes, we still don't know a lot a lot of things, that will come. And when they come, we'll look and say, wow, we knew so little, you see.
And just to wrap up that, that's why we need to keep our hearts open to new possibilities. Because perhaps a different civilization looking upon us, they'll think that we are barely apes because we know nothing, and so on. So we need to keep our spirit open to new possibilities, new things that will come, instead of using our laws, our perceptions, our truth to stop what is coming. Very good. I love this kind of conversation. 59. One may perhaps ask how a spirit, with the aid of such a subtle matter, is able to act upon heavy and compact objects, to lift tables, etc. And remember, that was the way the spirits managed to get Kardec's attention. It would certainly not take a scientist to raise such an objection, because without even considering the unknown properties that this new agent must possess, haven't we seen similar examples with our own eyes? You will see me saying quite often, the practice show us this, the practice tell us this. I like to tie everything we study with the practice, because if we are studying something and the practice shows us something different, perhaps we have to reevaluate our theories. Perhaps we have to reevaluate what we think we know. Perhaps the theory is right, but we don't know sufficient to come to the same conclusion on the end. So what Kardec is telling here, don't you see with your own eyes? How can I deny something that I can see in front of me? So this is practice. So I always tell people to study. I give the best support as possible to everyone to study. But study only is not sufficient. We need to practice. We need to be responsible with our practices, with our commitments, and then both can walk together. Hasn't industry discovered the most powerful motive forces in the most rarefied gases and the most imponderable fluids? Yes, we did. And now this that was very new at the time is old now. When we see air toppling buildings, steam upon enormous objects, gasified blasting powder, blow stones into air, and electricity split trees and perforate walls, is there anything so strange to accepting the fact that the spirit, by employing its perispirit, can lift a table? Especially when it is understood that this perispirit can make itself visible, tangible, and behave like a solid object. I'm willing to accept that it is hard to believe in what is written. Because as human beings that we are, we need to see to believe. But we have so much data about those phenomena, so many serious people speaking about that it's hard to conceive that's not true. I never saw, but I truly believe. I never saw a materialized, well, I think I never saw materialized spirit, but I'm convinced it's a possibility. Can be done. Because after studying different subjects, they all come together and tells me that yes, that's a possibility. Well, we're going to the new chapter, chapter 2, physical manifestations and turning tables. We don't have, well, the Spiritists don't have a lot of turning table nowadays. I know there are other philosophies, if I may call like that, they do. But we can see physical manifestation around us and without realizing it. If we are able to eliminate all the other possibilities of something moving, dropping, breaking, making noise around us, I think we need to consider the possibility there is some physical manifestation. Physical manifestations I have quite frequently around me. So, all of them are? No, not all of them are. I have to eliminate good part of them. Could be a wind because I left the window open, could be something, that is normal. But after looking around everything and then I don't have any other explanation, so maybe I need to consider that as a physical manifestation. And it does happen when we do have certain mediumship meetings. So I don't believe in coincidence, but when we do have this type of mediumship meeting, we have some things that are repeating over and over. So this could be a physical manifestation. Why I'm saying this could be? Because we need to evaluate in depth all the phenomena before we say it is. Physical manifestations are those that result in effects that are perceptible to the senses, such as a noise and the movement and displacement of solid objects. Some are spontaneous, i.e., independent of the human will, while others can be artificially induced. To start with, we will only consider the latter. The simplest effect is one of the first to be observed. Is the circular movement imparted to a table. This effect may be produced by using any other object as well. But since a table is the one that is used most often because it is the most convenient, the name table turning has been the prevalent designation for this type of phenomenon. I think we all here are familiar with the phenomenon, right? Through the studies, through the book, but if you don't, let me know, and then we can go a little bit in detail. When we stated that this effect was one of the first to be observed, we were referring to modern times. This was written in the late 1800s. Because all kinds of such manifestations have certainly been known about since antiquity. It could not have been otherwise. Any possible phenomena we see today is happening since the beginning. Because everything we see is natural, follow an order, a law of the universe. So why it only started after the 1800s? Makes no sense. Makes no sense because, first of all, we have register of things happening from the time we start to be able to write things in the paper or in the wall. And it's nature. Nature is nature. It's happening since we exist. If we were able to perceive, to understand, or if we felt there was something different, weird, that's another thing. Kardec, in his time, he devoted his time to catalog, understand, and make what we study today. Perhaps people before him just saw that, yeah, tough, move on. But he was impelled to go deeper and to bring what he brought to us. Since they are effects of nature, they would have had to have been produced in all ages. Tertullian, who's Tertullian? Quintus Septimus Florens Tertullian, oh my God, I don't know who he is, made clear reference to turning and talking tables. So Tertullian, I'm assuming, is from, let's see if that is at the year 1991, from AD C160. So it's kind of old, really. For some time, this phenomenon was the curious entertainment at various saloons, but later went out of fashion and was replaced by other distractions because it really did not, it did only amount to a distraction. There were two reasons for abandoning the turning table. For the frivolous, it was fashion, which rarely allows for the enjoyment of the same entertainment for 2 winters. However, this particular variety actually provided for 3 or 4. For earnest individuals and observers, the reason was more serious. However, they abandoned the turning tables in order to occupy themselves with the much more important consequences that results from them. They left behind the first stage of using the alphabet in order to enter the science. Hence, the whole secret for this apparent abandonment, about which we scoff, have made such a noise. Every time we talk about turning table, I'm thinking about how many good, serious spiritists were against stop using the turning table to use the paper and pen. Probably Kardec, he had some arguments at his time to convince people there was a progression. And nowadays, when we see us moving from pen and paper to computers, we are facing the same kind of difficulties. Whatever the case may be, the turning tables will always represent the starting point of the Spiritist doctrine. And that is why we must give them a much more in-depth treatment. By presenting spirit phenomena in their simplest expression, studying what causes them will become easier. And once a theory is established, it will give us the key to more complex effects. A discussion that I used to have with my peers back in Brazil is that mediums are coming to us with different sensibility, different type of mediumships. How are we going to handle that? No, it's not possible. Well, show me on the medium's book where it's written this type of mediumship, because I never found it. So I think that as we progress, sensibility will progress, phenomena may progress, and the way we perceive things may also progress. Because it's nature, it's the law of progress brought to us. Can anyone stop the law of progress? I don't think so. What time is it? 30 minutes. In order to produce this particular phenomenon, the participation of one of the most individuals gifted with a special aptitude is required. If we are facing some physical effects, true physical effect, we need a medium of physical effect in the vicinity. Don't need to be exactly next to it, but needs to be to a certain distance. For example, I'm living in a compound, there are several apartments here. I may have some physical effect, but there's nothing related to me or my family. Perhaps the person next door is the one that is donating the fluid. He is a medium of physical effect, and is donating the fluid for those phenomena, and does not even know it exists. 2 weeks ago, we had an example that came to us. One person telling, well, I'm not going back on that place anymore. What's going on? Well, there are a lot of strange things happening there. Things moving. Noise of people walking upstairs. There's no one upstairs. Doors opening and closing. I will not stay here. Sorry, find someone else. So things like that still exist, okay? It's more common than we think. And that was 2 weeks ago. In order to produce this particular phenomenon, the participation of one or more individuals gifted with a special aptitude is required. These individuals are called mediums. The numbers of the participants does not matter, except that amongst them, there may be a few who are mediums, but who are still unaware of the fact. As for the participants who have no mediumistic abilities, their presence will have no effect, or even be more harmful than useful because of the mental disposition that such person often display. I think last week we spoke about the harms that could happen to a medium during a materialization or things like that, right? So I'm not going to go through this again, but we have to remember that this is not a toy, this is not a play, this is serious. If we see things like that, we need to take that seriously. We need to know how to handle, how it's happening, how can I make things better. And if you don't, I would strongly recommend to study the Medium's book and other books that talk about the subject, and to seek some assistance. But don't take that as a joke or anything else, because it's serious. In this respect, mediums display lesser or greater degrees of power in their ability to produce the phenomena, and consequently produces effects that are quite pronounced or less so. One very powerful medium alone can almost always produce more than 20 less powerful ones together, and it is enough for such a medium to have barely placed his or her hands upon the table for it to instantly begin to move, levitate, turn, jump about, or spin violently. The two names come to my mind: Douglas Home and Mirabelli as the strongest mediums I was able to study. Hi, Charles.
Yes, or Zapia Palladino.
Oh, yeah, that's
no? But what is interesting here, adding on what we just saw at the end of the previous chapter, is, yes, the spirit with their spirit can act upon matter, but they need a medium. Without a medium, can they act upon matter or not? Kardec is writing, the participation of a medium is necessary. So we can understand that without a medium, they cannot act on the matter.
They cannot act upon our matter, right?
Exactly.
Because the spirit acts upon the matter of the perispirit. But the perispirit to act upon our matter, they need a medium. They need ectoplasm. They need to have that push of energy to allow them to do it.
So this confirms somehow that the spirit with his perispirit can act on what is living, on the life, to make our physical body, material physical body, being alive. But he cannot act directly on the wood of a table or whatsoever. He needs to have an intermediary, some ectoplasm, which is part of the life itself, the material part of the life itself.
I used to have lots of questions, Charles, and let's think about a possession. When one spirit, with his perispirit, controls the incarnated spirit and physical body. I think there are so many degrees of things that we don't know. I totally believe that to spirit to move matter, we need a medium. But I'm willing to accept variations in between, because there are things we don't know yet. And I think could be possible. But I'm not creating a theory. I'm just saying I think could be possible that in certain cases, there are no rules. The spirit may act on some types of matter. Considering what I said, I'm thinking about the possession, a perispirit coming closer to an incarnated being and being able to control his matter, But then, even going in that direction, perhaps he's not controlling the matter per se. He may be controlling the perispirit that controls this matter. So, but I in the past, I was very square, like, that's it. Nowadays,
Yeah, the contradiction comes, for instance, when it is told that the spirit can act upon hurricanes or things like that, phenomena of nature. And there, where is the mediums, or where are the mediums?
exactly.
Now, of course, there may be ectoplasm everywhere in nature or whatever, enabling them to act upon, or maybe they act upon differently. This phenomenon, for instance, meteorological phenomenon, it's a kind of a macroscopic effect there are so many parameters that it is not deterministic, that somehow it is a kind of a projection of the micro scale, the quantum mechanics, upon the macro scale, because you need so many data which is not available that there is some part, like in quantum physics, which is not directly controllable.
That's why, Charles, I urge all the spiritists to keep an open spirit, because we only know what we know today, right? Tomorrow may come additional, a small piece of information that corroborate with everything we say, and adding a little bit more that makes sense and a few other things, So yes, let's work with what we have and consider new possibilities.
To say is, even, for instance, we are reading, Kardec was writing, the intervention of a medium is necessary. But of course, quantum physics was not known at the time of Kardec. So it's not somehow contradicting Kardec. It's somehow completing or updating according to the progress of science in the meantime.
You said something that reminds me of something that happens many years ago when I was speaking about new developments, things that are coming new. And the person was speaking about things that were specific for the 1800s and asked me, so you're telling me that Kardec is wrong? No, Kardec was not wrong. You need to see the degree of information that was available at that time in the 1800s to allow him to establish all those theories, all those informations. So he was not wrong, but himself said he was not the last word, meaning new information would come, and it's up to us, spiritists of the present, to interpret, to analyze, and to bring on board after a thorough and reasonable analysis of whatever comes. See, I could not find anything wrong from Kardec's time. You have to remember that not too far from the 1800s, people were discussing if women, they had brains, if women, they have soul, if things like that, to us, is totally out of questions, But at the time, that was the world they were living in. People were not able to vote, only the masses, things like that, things that to us is unthinkable. But that was the world he was on. And I could not see a single contradiction. Perhaps I'm biased because I like it, but I could not see any contradiction. Yes, I see new things coming, adding on top of what he brought to us. And that will be like that forever. Otherwise, we want to be like those philosophies that were cast in stone and they were prepared 3,000 years ago and nothing is going to change. That's it. The world is evolving. Everything is evolving. But no, what we taught 3,000 years ago remains the same. So we need to keep an open heart. Oh, we have two hands. Hi, Camila. Camila?
Hello. I'd like to make a question, right? Like the phenomena. uh, let's see how I can describe. Like, for example, if the person is in the bed and you feel someone sit in the bed, like move in a perfectly way, right? Like materialized the you feel the person, you feel sit, you feel the everything moving, right? Physically. Is that a physical effect or not? Or the person?
I'm having a hard time to understand the question. Can you say that again?
Okay, I maybe I will try to explain if you
Remember that I used to work on boats, so
yeah,
you need to give me some more content.
yeah. Because for example, for me, that happened to another day. I was in the bed and I felt the presence of a woman sit, but it was perfect, right? I didn't want to look because I have the impression that you see, and I was not in the mood to see. So I felt I just pray, no, I don't want to see. Then my husband, I told it from my husband, he said, I always feel that he's in the same place, that like the same place in the bed, in the same area of the room, right? He felt the same. And because of the movement of the bed shows a woman, I don't know, I felt like a woman, right? Uh, and that I felt funny because my husband had this phenomena many times, and I did have only once, right? So I'd like to know if is the phenomenon physical because he have the feeling of the bed like someone sitting in the bed, or if it was not physical.
It's hard to know. It's hard to know because the boundaries between both is very thin. You know, if you had looked into the spirit, perhaps you could give me a bit more information. I would be able to tell you, but you were scared to do so. So
Yes.
it's natural. It's very natural. But sometimes I have perception of spirits next to me, and it does not make that a physical phenomena, right? If you had a spirit sitting on your bed and you could see the format of him sitting on the bed, that would be more like inclined to be physical. Only
Okay.
having the perception of a spirit next to you, and by the way, it seems that he used to be next to you when you guys sleep, it does not configure a physical thing, right?
Yeah.
But if he's there frequently, it's for a reason. I would suggest that you try to find why. Could be your benefactor, could be someone asking for help, could be so many things. Don't be scared about it.
Yeah. 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 I felt only one. So what I felt funny is like he said that many times.
Yeah, good, good. So we have another hand. Elsoli.
Sorry, I was later today, but I heard it, Charleston about quantum physics and quantum physics or mechanics, doesn't matter now. But I think if everybody is medium, everybody on Earth is a medium, are medium. I don't know if we thought about that what's happened within the two physics. I don't know. It was a professor or only for they then two person they come to at is possible when ball or one solid object fly through when wall, cement wall, and they did that, and we could see that, And I know everybody maybe saw that because they had then Nobel Prize with this. I would like to know about. I don't know if you saw that. I think everybody saw, or that they showed to everybody that they end with another side of the wall and in this side, the opposite side, and cast away this ball. I think it was I don't know tennis ball too. I don't know it was, and they cast, and then another took that. Somebody here saw that.
Well, I did not. Did anyone saw
It
that?
is. Yeah. Yes. Say.
Did
Sorry.
anyone saw what Eusoli is describing? I don't think so then. So
It
we
is,
have to
but
learn about that.
it is in the net, for net because they show why they had this premium Nobel. They have
So
they
what I would suggest, Eusoli, that you share with us the link of what.
yes, because you think we all we are mediums, and I would like to know because I take upon that Naya saw, I will try to find it and I will show to
Yeah.
I think
So if you find the link, send to the group. Then we can talk about that next Saturday. Because
yes,
our time is
and
up as well.
yes, I know, but only so. After that, I would only, but next week do. I ask or because we know we are medium, and they too, Professor, they were medium too, and I think it's on a two power quantic physics and the mediumship too. I think why no? Jesus said you can do this. You can then mount it to another side. So, because he knows everything. Jesus knows everything in the future. What's happened will happen at that time, and why I asked, but you can answer in another time because now it's time to finish. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. So now I will stop the recording and I'll pass to Pablo. Let me stop sharing.